nice. This is something I should get into like that. So, so there are some examples, and that is very nice. Because without example, like people, they will not really have an inspiration to act if they don't see a proper result. So like that, people who are very, very qualified, even a transcendental person who is completely on a pure devotional platform and completely detached and renounced and doesn't really need to be involved in material life, even such a person can take up the responsibility of the Grihastha ashram just in order to educate the masses at large. Like it is described by Krishna to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. He is telling that you do your duty just to show the people in general like how to perform the prescribed activities. And Krishna is saying that whatever a great man does, common men follow. So even a person who is qualified to like renounce the family life and go to the vanaprastha or the sanya state, such a person may see, but what is actually more favorable for the service of Krishna? Because people, they might need to see proper examples like that. So then might say, okay, so my renunciation will be to stick with the vows that I have taken here and execute my Varnashram Dharma very nicely to inspire others, because that is a very, very, what do you say, like precious service. Like, I think Krishna is very, very happy seeing examples like this in the midst of Kali Yuga and showing people the proper way. So, and actually this whole Vedic thing, the whole Vedic culture, it is actually the most revolutionary concept. So again, considering women, one might think, no, I need to show how strong I am, I need to get my career and like that, I need to earn a lot of money. But actually, the real strength of a woman, that is actually in this becoming a chaste wife and mother. That is the most revolutionary thing that one can actually do, considering we are living in a time when no one is, or practically no one is trying to apply these Vedic standards of life. If one says, no, I don't want anything to do with this contemporary society, I want to live the Vedic way. That is the most revolutionary statement. So, yeah. And actually, revolution does not just mean that we turn everything upside down and we turn the police cars upside down and we set fire to the embassies and whatever. That is not the real revolution. The real revolution is that we're trying to once again bring things back to the way it was. That is actually, I heard that by Satyananda Maharaj. He was talking about the word revolution, and he says, revolve-shin, revolution, again, turn things, and then shin, E-O-N, that's the process of something going on. So the process of, again, turning things back to the way it was. That is the real revolution. But after the French Revolution, it changed, so it became this, no, we need to kill the top of the society and then the Shudras take over. And that's the revolution. But actually to try to turn things back to the Vedic way of life, that is the real revolution. And that is done by individuals who are positioning themselves in accordance with Varnashram Dharma and then teaming up together, making a strong society, and trying to, from within that society, trying to educate the people. Srila Prabhupada here talks about Vanashankara in the purport here, and he says that one of the fall downs is that no one knows what platform who is on. So people, they don't know how to deal with each other accordingly. And we see that so much. Like people, they don't know who they are and they don't know how they should be engaged. And so many people, therefore, they get stress and depression and all these things because they're completely defying their nature. So we have a conditioned nature, but part of our conditioned nature is that we try to revolve, like we're trying to turn upside down our conditioned nature, and we don't want to accept it. But actually, if we can give up our hallucinations of what we are supposed to be, and we can actually just accept whatever conditioned nature we have and try to engage in that very nicely, then we will automatically be happy. But if we try to pursue some ideals which were set about people who have no idea about actual human psychology, then we're just setting ourselves up so badly. Normally I don't preach so much on this point when I'm on the street about that women, they should be chaste and like that, but I had just one encounter, and that was more than a year ago while I was still in the wheelchair. And I met this woman, she was probably in the late 20s or something, and she was wearing something like a suit, and she was looking really cool in the modern estimation. And I stopped her and I asked what she was doing, and then she was saying, oh, I do this and I do that, and I'm a career woman, and this and that. And she was kind of a little bit hectic, you could see. So I said, yeah, okay. And I showed her the book, and I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but I said that actually what you want is that you want to be a mother, and you want to be protected, and you want to take care of a little household, and that is actually what you want. And all these other ideas, that's just something people they put into your head. And she was actually very, she said, yeah. She just cooled down and said, yeah, it's actually exactly what I want. Exactly what I want. And she bought a book. So people who are a little bit sane, when they will be confronted with the Vedic principles, then they will see, hey, maybe there could be something to it. So we were joking a little about when we were in Odense at that time, and we found this encyclopedia for the housewives. And we're thinking, hey, maybe we should print this one and distribute it on the street. So, because education is so much needed, and it can really be valuable. Just imagine a society where the husband is taking care of the wife, and the wife is taking care of the household, giving so much time and love and attention to the children and like that. It's just obviously a better way of life. So how to get there? We simply need to position ourselves very nicely in accordance with our Vana and Ashram, and knowing how it works. And then when people who come, we don't just tell them, do this, but they say, hey, they are doing that, and we should do this also. So I think, by the way, because now I run out of things to talk about on this subject matter. Maybe we can discuss it later. But also I just wanted to mention one point, because Jagadananda Pandit, he has his appearance day today. So Lalita, he instructed me, you should go to Nitai. Yeah. Jagadananda Pandit, he has his appearance day today, and Lalita, he ordered me to say something about it, so I will not transgress his instructions. So Jagadananda Pandit, he was bestowed mercy by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has just so kindly appeared here, given us darshan. So Jagadananda Pandit, not Devananda Pandit, Devananda Pandit, sorry, I'm mixing things up, making offenses here. Sri Devananda Pandit, he was interpreting the Srimad Bhagavatam, but he was actually doing so accordance with the Mayavadi philosophy. So that is how you can extract Mayavadi philosophy out from the Srimad Bhagavatam. But anyway, he was doing that, and he was very celebrated amongst his students. And once Srivas Thakur, he came to his ashram and he heard his interpretation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it was so grotesque that he started to cry. He was shedding tears in agony. What is this idiot doing to the Srimad Bhagavatam? So Devananda Pandits, his students, they become very, very upset. So they took Srivas Thakur and threw him out and said, hey, you're disturbing the lecture. So, but later on, Sri Devananda Pandit, he was chastised severely by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and at that time he had a change of heart, and he actually became a pure devotee. So there is not so much stated about him in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I know there's more in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. I didn't have access to it, so yes, I'll round up here. Any comments or questions?
Yeah,
but I mean, let us.
Okay. I just thought that this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, you said about being expert in material things, or our abilities. A devotee is expert is also one of the qualities of a devotee, but it was just very interesting that Gaura was just mentioning to me that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he had a disciple who was a sannyasi. He gave him to sannyas, and he liked to study Sanskrit. And how was it? He wanted to learn how to preach, and he wanted to be an erudite scholar, because now he took sannyas. So he asked Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj to give him a teacher to train him up to become a good preacher. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he sent him to the countryside, to a farmer, and he thought there was a mistake. He was asking for the name of this devotee who was going to train him, and there came a very, very simple, they said it's him, and he was such a simple farmer. And so he stayed around him, and he was asking him questions, but he was so humble and he didn't want to speak. He is a sannyasi, and so finally he said a few sentences after he was begging him. No, first he actually went back to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and said, I think Maharaj, there was maybe some mistake. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, no, you go back and you become humble and you ask him, beg him to instruct you and help you. So he went back and then he finally got him to say some things. And he said just a few sentences, not much philosophy. And then he went back to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and then he repeated these sentences, and then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, yes, these are the essence of our whole philosophy. So I thought it was just such a nice, we don't need to, if we become sannyasis or whatever we do in our services, if we just do the things we know, do them well. It was just a nice, this becoming expert in our services. And then I also heard this, I think that I read it somewhere, that if a brahmachari contemplates getting married, that I think is coming from Bhakti Vidyapurna Maharaj, that then he should get married. It is not this honesty, that it may not be today or tomorrow like that, but it's just that sometimes we think that we are so qualified, we just do it because we are renounced actually, but we do it in order to preach. But if everyone just, I think in our movement it will very much help if everyone is just honest about themselves and their own situations, and that was just a checkpoint for a brahmachari. And then I think also that if a brahmachari can get a good training and really control his senses, then we will have so less problems in our ISKCON society and in the society at large, because a woman will naturally, Matatis will naturally respect a husband so deeply, because and want to serve if the husband is self-controlled, because it is that you don't find it in the normal society. So in our ISKCON society, when the Matatis, they come here and they see this good training of the brahmacharis and the monks, and then when they decide, some of them may decide to enter the Grihastha, the glorious Grihastha ashram, and take responsibility for the family in the proper way. I just don't think that it is very difficult for many women to follow, like you said with this lady you met on the street. Because it is a natural inclination, it lays inside of the ladies, but they are simply looking for that protection. And once I went, for 1 year I was studying in this Densusheka school, and there were like 70% of these ladies, young women, who didn't want to get married, because they were so afraid that they would enter into a broken marriage like their parents. But if they come here and they see, like, here the men treat them like spirit souls, and then they naturally, that they can feel and understand that here they will have a beautiful family life, like you explained, then I think that this society will be so easy to establish, because Bhaktivedanta Purna Maharaj, he said that a good husband makes a good wife. Yeah, so it may start from there.
So it's nice we have this little place where we're trying to practice Vedic culture, and we try to do
it. It is so beautiful.
Very nicely, and then from there try to attract some people, train them up, and naturally more young people will attract more people, and then by the influence of time, and in that time be trained properly, and by the influence of time some will enter Grihastha ashram, and then we can establish these 4 legs of society and have everything included. So
we also, we didn't have, once I asked Ravanath Maharaj about the society and what went wrong in ISKCON, he said that before we very much concentrated on big projects, like Sankirtan and distribute books and like this, and to get married, and was actually not so much encouraged. Just when Prabhupada left the planet, it was very much preaching, distribute books, and then the psychology between the husband and wife was not so much stressed at that time. So at least my spiritual master, he always say to all new Matatis that you should just become a good mom. And like these things, and he also told me that before we thought about big projects, but if the little family is very happy and satisfied, then from there on we will change the world. But I think also my experience is just that, like, my first spiritual master was personally trained by Prabhupada, and he had this, the importance that all women go out on book distribution and learn the art like this. So I have many god sisters who first got children when they were 40 years old, because it was not stressed, So it's like 2 sides that have to be, it seems like, at least to my little understanding.
And the Vedic way, that is what's working, and we should try to apply that and not speculate too much. So Prabhupada, he said that pretty much as early as possible, and then take the trolley and go out and bring some books.
But it's like when Prabhu was, he was saying, temple president before in Burma, he had this philosophy that you should first get married when you're 40. You can ask. It was in the past. So then at one point Vedananda Maharaj visited our temple, and then he said he had this seminar And he said to the brahmachari, he said, and if you think it is a fall down to get married, then you're all stupid. And I remember that 3 months after that, I went on a tour to Australia for 3 months, and when I came back, then 3-4 brahmacharis had changed to white, because there was not the proper understanding that it is glorious, or actually you upgrade yourself and you can also take care of a family in the proper way.
Gaura, you have a point?
Yeah, now, I wanted to say about, those last 3 sentences of the purport, I thought they were like interesting. But then very quickly I'll also mention, like Bhaktivedanta Purna Maharaj also mentions about the training of girls, that up to the age of 12, basically these 4 points that are in the translation, in the verse, that has to be communicated. And then they need to understand this from their mother. And it's very difficult if it is not done by age 12, because then all chaos starts like. And then another thing that she mentioned was, so it is not just like it may not be just like so easy to just that women can follow then there is a qualified husband. It both has to be their training. So men have to be sense controlled and sensitive, he says. And then women should be trained in chastity, which means these 4 things. And then Bir Krishna Maharaj, I had also heard that, who was visiting here, Denmark. Before he used to visit more regularly, once a year like that. He had also said that about the brahmacharis here, that they should all get married. And but now if you can, those 3 sentences I thought like were interesting. Can you elaborate? Can you elaborate on those 3 sentences?
The last one?
Yeah.
For peace and happiness in the material world. For peace and happiness in the material world, the Varnashram institution must be introduced.
Yeah, from there and then until the end.
The symptoms of one's activities must be defined, and one must be educated accordingly. Then spiritual advancement will automatically be possible. So we need to situate ourselves under authority and not speculate about what should actually be our position, but we should hear from authorities who are our well-wishers and who see through the Shastra and who sees the symptoms of the student, what is the nature, what is the proclivity and like that. And then you are instructed that you work within this field or like that. And it is just very natural that if our conditioned nature, it is engaged accordingly, then there can be some peace of mind. And there will not be so much this I have to change, I have to do this, I have to do that, because one is just situated accordingly. So there's just natural peace, and one should be because it's one's conditioned nature, one should also be good at what one's doing. And then, so the service is just going on. It's just going on, and there's not so much deviation, then naturally spiritual advancement comes. I think a glorious example of a person who's actually situated accordingly, of these people who come from the outside, I find that this Søren, he is quite amazing, because he's a carpenter, and that is like a Shudra profession, but he's really good at it, and he's just so happy about it. It's like he has no idea that I should be a great intellectual or something like that. He's a carpenter, and he's a good carpenter, and he wants to be better at his art, and like that. And you can just see, that makes him very, very peaceful. And so if you can just, one is situated accordingly, then you just add Krishna consciousness, and then as Prabhupada says, then spiritual advancement will automatically be possible.
And then you have this situation, I mean, there is also maybe some more example, and Jai is also, nicely, seems peaceful, he has a steady job, but then you have, the situation where you have devotees in the temple, and then they may not approach the authorities, even in private, to ask, Prabhu, what is my varna, and then what do you do with such people? If you have a leadership role, if you are in the management, what do you do? And maybe you even see that there are some going around thinking they are brahmanas, and it just causes trouble, everywhere, all around them, and what to do?
Then one should correct the mistake, like authority and like.
How? Tell them what is their varna.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Like, if people, they are, like Lalitanand, he's giving this example that a person is sitting on a branch and he's cutting off the branch, and then someone should come and explain. But it should be done like, that should be done by a person whom the individual who should be corrected by a person who this person's trust, that this is actually my well-wisher, this person would want the best for me, therefore if he gives me advice, then I should accept it.
But then you have this, if they really understood that the person correcting me is my best well-wisher, then wouldn't they have already approached him, and
maybe they think they have figured it out. But
that of course, that is exactly the thing, because you can see, every now and then, they may drop a line or two, sentence here and there. I mean, it's pretty obvious. In some cases at least, some they may be more, discreet.
But the natural thing is that one should approach the spiritual master and one should acquire him.
Spiritual master is out of the question. Spiritual master is God.
We're talking shiksha and diksha. But the thing is that you approach your authority and then you inquire, and this is one of the most obvious things.
Yeah, but they don't do, no. I mean, that doesn't happen. No. In practice, we are seeing that it doesn't always happen, because for some, it is like so. I mean, if you see, there are people going around, for decades, for going 1, 2, 3, decades, and established, and convinced that I am this, I am that.
But then you just say, hey, here we have Bhagavatam, and okay, let's see. Is this your livelihood? Are you collecting without begging? Are you begging grains, or what? How are you maintaining yourself? Oh, you're getting a paycheck? Okay, so you're a Shudra.
Yeah.
But one should one important thing is that one should not just hammer people, but it should be done in this mood of well-wishing. And I heard Bhaktivinoda Purna Maharaj, she says that if you want to point out a fault, then you should be there for the person, and you should point out the fault, but you should also be able to tell them how to rectify it, and you should have so much compassion for the person that you should want to stay with them until the fault is actually corrected. So, but often there's also a little of this vaivarta, that in terms of discussion, one wants to be the one who's correct, and it doesn't always work. We should be on the platform where we want to establish the truth, we want to distinguish reality from illusion for the welfare of all living beings. So, but often we just think, hey, this person is an idiot, I should tell him a thing or two. And then you're Shudra, and then you leave, but that's not the way.